Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Jonathan DeVoe, and I represent Comforte, a leading provider of data security, connectivity, and digital enablement solutions on NonStop systems for over 20 years. I'm the moderator of today's webinar, which will be presented by Data Express, one of Comforte's key technology partners. Data Express is the leader in secured managed file transfers on HPE NonStop systems and is also available on open systems as well. Today's webinar is called What's Managed File Transfer and Why Do I Need It for My NonStop System? Well, that's what you're going to learn today. Whether your organization transfers one file per day or you transfer hundreds or even thousands of files per day, you're going to hear exceptional benefits of why secured managed file transfer is needed and why Data Express is the best solution for your NonStop operations. So first, I'd like to introduce you to today's presenters. We have Richard Buckle, who is a partner of Data Express and is also well known in the NonStop community. We also have Susie Ray, who is a longtime member of the Data Express team and also has extensive knowledge of managed file transfer operations. Susie will provide the main presentation material. Now, I'd like to turn it over to Richard, who's going to kick us off. Richard?
Thank you, JD. It's good to be on this call with you. What I'm planning to do is have a look. I think someone may need to switch. Here we go. Thank you for your patience here. I took a little longer for that first slide. Where I'd like to start, I think JD is spot on. We're going to be talking about secure managed file transfer and essentially why I need it. And so to put that within a context of NonStop systems, it's probably a good idea to start at the beginning and have a look at HPE, because one of the things that we've all started to notice is there's a considerable uptick in the communication coming from HPE about what they're doing. It's made it very clear HPE has a vision, it has a strategy, it's been executing it now for about 2 years. And right now we're transitioning from like a second phase into a third phase. We seem to have got past the software automation aspects when you look at how HPE packages it, and we're in a composable infrastructure to some degree. But I think what's really important here is that NonStop is a part of the vision and strategy of HPE. You know, make no mistake about it. The most important thing here is, you know, HPE has a vision, it has a strategy, it is executing, and NonStop is a part of that. I think equally more importantly is when you look at Data Express. Data Express is developing its products in parallel, if you like, with the NonStop platform and the open platform. And in a way, it really is executing in lockstep with this strategy in that it has its product available for the key platforms that make up what we're calling today hybrid IT. If I look now at the emergence of hybrid IT, you'll see that when we look at the phases, we're right in the middle. If I was to draw a bullseye around the execution, we're between composable infrastructure and multi-cloud continuous service. And I think we've seen the beginnings of this kind of message as HPE makes available virtualized NonStop, first running on OpenStack, kernel level VM, but now more importantly on VMware. But it is all about this hybrid IT. And by hybrid IT, what that has done for us, if you like, is recognize or give an awareness to data center managers that they're dealing with more than one system. A hybrid in a car is a hybrid powertrain, is a mixture of different types of technologies. Same thing in the data center. We have NonStop, no longer isolated as an island, but an active participant in the systems present in the data center. And data centers are transforming. And in that transformation, in that digital transformation we hear so much about, is that no real system can remain an island. You have to get things from one system to another. But in the case of what we're seeing in the data centers where Data Express has its footprint and where the NonStop is present, we see that it's hybrid now. It's a traditional system, a traditional NonStop system, cooperating on one side, if you like, with apps that are way out on the edge, but also with the other systems that are inside the server farms, the clouds, whatever we want to call it. It's all connected, it's all communicating. And for now, NonStop traditional connecting to clouds, connecting to other services is pretty much what the industry views as being hybrid IT. So we're in that phase where it's emerging. I don't want to say everybody's got one, but at least an embryonic form of it is starting to appear. I think more interesting is some recent comments made by some of the well-placed executives, some that we know in the NonStop community very well. I picked slides here that were used by Randy Meyer, who's now VP and General Manager of Mission Critical Systems. But Randy is better known to us as the former boss of NonStop, and indeed, he has acknowledged that NonStop is his favorite child. So when we get into this kind of discussion about a digital core for real-time business, how does NonStop fit into this digital core? But first, what is a digital core? We hear a lot. Well, it's nothing more than a strong digital foundation, if you like, that HP believes ties everything together. The enterprise's mission-critical business processes, its data streams, etc., and allow all the stakeholders, all the users to interact. And at Data Express, we do agree with this definition, and we do agree with this necessity for the digital core. And we understand this digital core and our contribution. Whether you see us as JD just mentioned, a one-time moving company that gets you from A to B, you fill it all up and we'll move you, or something more sophisticated like a FedEx model, which we'll touch on later, where we're constantly providing data to an acceptance point, or whether they're coming out and picking it up or not. We see ourselves fitting into and supporting this digital core in the sense that we help the integration, if you like, of an enterprise's mission critical business on NonStop with everything else around it. But I like the other kind of thought that came out here. We know it's a critical part, NonStop evolving in the mission critical systems as they are developed and pursue this cloud readiness in addition to being consumed as a service. But I like the fact that time and data are the new currency of IT. And I really jumped on this concept of data, the new currency. Because without data, without information, without your files, you stand a very good chance of missing out on changes of behavior, changes of processes, changes of the way your business partners are working. And if you're not participating and generating currency, then you may be losing business. And I think that's the major thing here. We talk about data and we talk about files. I talk about files consistently in the Data Express lingo, if you like, because still files are the best ways to move a bunch of data. If you've got an opportunity to sit there and take the information you're generating from your transactional processes that are running on the NonStop system, then Data Express is really good at picking up those files and moving them to where they can be integrated. They can be given to processes that put them in the cloud. They can be sent to agencies and other parties that may be regulating the business. So with one product, you can do an integration way beyond just simply making sure data goes from A to B. Well, if we've got a digital core, what's in the core? Well, the core is hybrid IT. We've just looked at that. But when you get inside the hybrid IT, what's underway is that's not the end game, because we're collapsing, we're transforming, we're integrating. And I wrote about this a short time ago with the thought in mind that we would be talking about this with Data Express. because you hear all about this digital transformation and simplifying a digital transformation, etc. And it really is all targeting how we deal with the changing landscape, as we've gone from these homogeneous systems to heterogeneous systems to hybrid cloud systems to eventually everything as a service. So right now the world is hybrid, and when it comes to the NonStop, as I wrote, we don't want to be constrained by the tools at hand or the environment that arises. And essentially what we're saying here is that we can't keep doing everything ourselves. We can't just stick a couple of post-it notes up to remind us to move a file. We can't just write a script. In this world where the NonStop is being taken away or had its isolation removed, and we're an integral part of the hybrid IT, things just have to operate automatically. And hence, when we get into the topic of file transfer, we've now talking very aggressively about the need to have it secured, and it has to be managed. Because if we're going to go down this path and be an integral part and integrate with the rest of the systems that we see adjacent to us in the data center, across the network, then we have to automate it. So with that, what I really like now is the way that the NonStop community is being offered choice, unlike any other time in its history. You can take delivery of your NonStop system as a converged systems. It will be dropped off on the dock of your data center, all tied up with a bow, and you can unpack it, uncrate it, and deploy it just as you've always done. And it's part of hybrid IT. It'll just go into the data center, it'll be sitting there, and you'll be running NonStop. And you'll be having an opportunity to put Data Express on there to integrate it and move the files. But maybe you have your own hardware. Maybe you've got Cisco x86 server farms and you've got a lot of headroom. Well, now you'll be able to order NonStop as a software stack that will be able to run virtualized. And guess what? Data Express runs there too. We've got the opportunity, we've tested, we've validated, you can drop us in and run us in the virtual environment. So you can run us on traditional, you can run us virtual. But now NonStop is adding an element to this in response to those that want to consume NonStop as a service. The biggest example of this to date is HPE's own IT, where NonStop and NonStop SQLMX are sitting up there with a multi-tenancy capability such that you can actually set up and run your own bits of the database. You can consume it all as a service. This is on our roadmap at Data Express, but we're just watching and working with HPE to see how this evolves, because there's a lot of interesting byproducts of such a move. But the thing is, it's different paths. We have choice, but it's the same objectives and it's the same realization. When we develop Data Express for NonStop, you'll notice that it's converged systems for NonStop, it's virtualized NonStop, it's NonStop as a service. There's no, it's almost NonStop. It's as good as NonStop. It reflects NonStop. It is NonStop. And I think that's one of the things that we need to be very clear in our minds about, that while we have choice, we are not losing NonStop. And the environment, the APIs, our services, everything are consistent. And so our Data Express will resolve all your integration issues, no matter what path you choose to go down. It's still all about access to data. That's not changing. You have an NScribe file, you have an SQLMX table, you have anything you want. As long as you can point Data Express at it, then we can pick it up and move it to adjacent systems or wherever it is needed. So when you look at where Data Express is going to play a very important role, and why automation and why setting it up so that you can rely on it, executing, and then you can go to bed at night not having to worry about being woken up, is that in the end game, as we see it, as we've gone from homogeneous to heterogeneous to hybrid to mixed clouds, etc., is that we'll end up with NonStop running somewhere. In fact, last year, Randy Meyer, our good friend Randy Meyer, said, when asked where's NonStop, I'm just going to wave my arms around and say it's out there somewhere. And what he was pointing to is the fact that NonStop as a software stack will be able to reside anywhere in your server farms, in your clouds, wherever. And all of those systems will be hybrid, integrated across that platform. In other words, you might have mixtures of Linux, other open platforms, Windows, NonStop, in any kind of combination there. And when you go down that particular path, then you're going to recognize very rapidly files will be moving and data will be in flight. And it'll be way beyond the ability to just simply type in something on a command line and remember to get the attributes and everything correctly and move that data. It won't happen. You're going to have a premier, secure, managed file transfer capability, and that's why I need it. Moving files will require automation, minimal oversight, but most of all, security. So what we've seen with HPE is that it has a strategy, it has a vision, it's executing. HPE is part of it. Data Express has been working in lockstep with that strategy, with that vision. It has an open platform, it has a NonStop. And so it is in that ideal and quite unique position of being just a little ahead of the majority of NonStop users' needs to move data. And with that, I'm going to cross over to Susie for more information on explicitly how this all works.
Thank you, Richard, for the great introduction. So I'm going to start off by talking about what is managed file transfer. And managed file transfer solutions allow data to be transferred in a controlled, secure fashion, both inside and outside an organization, between systems and/or users. Files are transferred securely, enhancing productivity and providing visibility of transfers. Secure managed file transfer is a way to transfer your sensitive data quickly, easily, and securely over the public internet while tracking your data at every step. What kind of problems are companies facing today? Well, some of the challenges include wondering, is your data secure? And this is critical for financial data. And it's also critical that you meet your service level agreements without hitting any financial penalties. You need to have better visibility of the files you're transferring and who has access to them and who can download them. You need to replace your outdated transmission methods, which might be taking longer and longer to complete. Then this might include having unsecure FTP that needs to be updated to a secure SFTP. And you might need to integrate with enterprise systems monitoring and cloud services like Dropbox, Amazon, and Azure. So how are companies solving this today? Well, they're replacing their legacy unsecure methods with securely shared file transfers. They're replacing custom-written scripts with application interfaces and automation. And they're depending on supported and scalable solutions. Now, why do you need something different or better? Well, you need to transfer your files faster. You're replacing your legacy methods with cloud and IP. You need to automate repetitive processes to free up resources. You need to achieve regulatory compliance with company, industry, and country standards. And most important, you want to make sure that your company is not in the news after a security breach. So in a perfect world, no packages are lost and there's never a problem in delivery. Data Express consolidates and manages all your enterprise file movement operations in a secure, centralized, and controlled environment. Automation improves operational efficiencies, enabling monitoring and regulatory policy compliance for SLA, processes, security, and access, while eliminating many redundant processes inherent to most enterprise infrastructures. As most of our customers are in the financial marketplace, security and risk mitigation are at the top of our list of features. And we provide this without forcing our customers into using a proprietary solution that limits their ability to connect to all of their trading community. Data Express comes in two flavors. As Richard mentioned, Data Express NonStop is our original product, and we also offer Data Express Open Platform. This was a customer-driven request, which is more versatile and easy to add new options. Every day, sites use Data Express to transmit hundreds of thousands of files. Data Express NonStop started in 1985 at the request of Tandem as their banking customers needed it. This is a Guardian Pathway application. We run in the Guardian space only, using NScribe files and TMF auditing, and we're certified on NonStop X and V NonStop. Data Express Open Platform is a Java application that runs on Windows, Unix, Linux. It uses a shared or replicated SQL database. It's a browser-based GUI and can be controlled programmatically using XML command scripts. It uses network-attached shared file storage. Its features include secure gateways, cooperating servers, and impulse ad hoc transfers. And just as FedEx offers multiple options, air and truck, Data Express offers multiple ways to move data. Your external customers can connect to Data Express using a suite of options, and they're not limited to a single protocol running on a specific platform. There are no requirements for specific software. For example, any FTP client will work with us. Data Express NonStop messages can be sent to EMS for your enterprise monitoring. And the operations goal here is to track the exceptions, the 1% of total transmissions. And like Federal Express, you only care about the tracking when your package doesn't arrive. Data Express tracks the file as it arrives and as it is delivered. Data Express does not use a proprietary protocol. We use standard protocols and work with all clients and servers. External customers can connect using a suite of options. This also means that the remote does not need to change when Data Express is installed. We will continue to work with what they already have running, which is minimal risk when changing to Data Express. Our FTP client uses an API to the standard HPE FTP client. Our FTP server, however, is a custom version based on the HPE source code and replacing the logon with a logon to the Data Express application. And this means that the remote user doesn't know that they're logging on to a NonStop. And Data Express schedules will define how to handle inbound files, whether they're structured or unstructured. While most connections to NonStop require some knowledge of Guardian file systems, Data Express will take care of this for you. Our SSH client and server work with the Comforte SFTP and SSH2, and our TLS client and server also work with the Comforte SSL object. Our SSL and SSH servers also use the same custom logon to Data Express as the same as our FTP server, so your remote does not need to understand Guardian files. Connect Direct, also known as NDM, is the authorized transport to the Federal Reserve, and Data Express interfaces and automates your Connect Direct transfers, both inbound and outbound. Our legacy communications, async, bisync, and SNA, aren't being used on sites anymore today, but this is a very recent, so it's only in the last 2 to 3 years that SNA has been dropped from all of our customer sites. We also offer shareware for compression from InfoZip, and we have a GPG standalone which interfaces to the iTug GPG on the OSS. Now let me give you an example of how Data Express runs at a customer site today. This is a credit card processor, and we've been there since 2000. And Data Express here is the corporate gateway. all of the files come in through a single point of entry through DataExpress into the corporate network. This customer may not be our highest volume, but they certainly have the tightest security. They process many different kinds of file types. And moving critical financial data is time sensitive, and DataExpress is trusted to do this, meeting their SLA agreements. While the volume at this site continues to increase, the staff needed to monitor the system has decreased. This staff can then be reassigned to new tasks as there is less time spent troubleshooting. At this site, they have a very specific definition of how data is moved, and they use what we refer to as a push-push method. In this case, the remote will connect to DataExpress via the FTP or SSH server, or connect direct, and the remote pushes the file to DataExpress, and then DataExpress pushes the data out to the back-end application. We also have data coming in from back-end applications, and then DataExpress is the method to push the file out to the destination. In addition, DataExpress is able to allow the remote to come in and pick up files, or we can have them, we can go out and pick up the files from them. At this site, all the scheduling is dynamic. DataExpress accepts a file when it comes in, and we don't expect files at a certain time. We do, however, allow you to define SLA deadlines. This means that there may be a period in the day where we will not accept files, and this is during the end-of-day processing. DataExpress here is considered a pass-through system. We don't touch the data conforming to the PCI requirements. We also have, in addition to all the protocols listed, we have additional features including auditing. And each site has various auditing requirements. DataExpress includes audit trails of all screen updates, reports of daily activity, statistics, and more. Our end-of-day processing compiles data on all transfers, producing a transmission history file, and this can be used to bill for services. We provide the data, and sites use the data any way they want. We also have online statistics available with a daily extract that can also be used for reporting and analysis. Our sniffer is a method of picking up files off your disk, and this is a way to automate picking up files from an in-house application without requiring any changes on that application. In this case, DataExpress defines where to look on disk. You tell us where, and we relate that to a schedule that will define what to do with the data. We also have a value-added processing called the reformatter, which allows us to transform data for the receiving application. This is for when the client is unable or unwilling to do that. This is offered as a service to the remote, where DataExpress will do it for you so the remote doesn't have to make code changes. This includes doing data validation and mapping, such as notch validation and totals matching, EBCDIC ASCII translation, when the protocol doesn't provide it or a custom translation is needed, and duplicate file checking. This is a feature that was used often 10 to 15 years ago, while today most files are typically passed through without opening the file to meet security requirements. And we also offer notifications to send out alerts via email based on the schedule status, such as when a file is late, a transfer failed, etc. We allow you to configure your templates for different messages using variables. Now let me give you an example of using DataExpress to transform your existing unsecured FTP to a secured SFTP. Now this sounds like it could be a daunting process, especially if the client you're using today does not offer a secure transport such as SFTP or TLS. And DataExpress can transform this process with or without changing your NonStop application. Without changing your application, you can have DataExpress using our sniffer interface to pick up the defined files at defined locations and deliver them using SFTP or TLS clients. This is a very simple setup on DataExpress. You simply tell us where to look and assign a schedule to each file, one schedule per destination. To do this with making a minor change to your application, we can have your application write a trigger record to DataExpress using our file transfer queue mechanism, and this tells us where the file is located and gives us a schedule key to tell us where to deliver it. We can also write a custom interface to DataExpress. Some DataExpress customers recognize the strengths as they are designed to enhance the automation of the data transfer, all while providing the high levels of security and reporting required to meet the demands of the industry and government auditors. Scheduling is defined once and rarely updated after it starts. It defines when a file should arrive. It notifies you when it's late. We also offer dynamic scheduling, an event prompting a schedule to be created. We also have SLA monitoring. When the file arrives outside of an SLA window, alarms are put out. We can also prioritize your collection of files, allowing the delay of delivery and throttling the delivery through Connect Direct. Our monitoring is absolutely key. Do you know where your file is now? Do you know if it actually arrived? We have, with our error alarms, we also offer writing our messages in EMS format, which allows you to link to your enterprise monitoring using other products. And the goal with operations is to track only the exceptions, the 1% or less of all transmissions, and this eliminates manual intervention. DataExpress also allows you to interface to other applications on the NonStop, whether you're interfacing through our file transfer queue processing or using Sniffer to pick up the files from the application. We also will offer custom interfaces using custom triggers. Our value-added processing includes user exits, both custom and standard, such as file splitting, and this allows the remote to send in data that needs formatting for the back-end applications. DataExpress will format the data for you. Regulatory compliance is a large question in every enterprise today. You need to not only know the security of your physical data, but you also need to know about the processes. How are they being managed and secure? And this includes the movement of data. There are the many laws that must be adhered to now, including the new GDPR, HIPAA, SOX, etc. And DataExpress provides the framework to meet these regulations with our user authentication, our data protection, and our audit trails. In a perfect world, all the data moves smoothly without any problems. Our customers enjoy the ability to move into a project with a phased approach, and this enables them to step into the process of full automation with a clear vision of what they want to achieve. Each batch of files, services, or end users they add gives DataExpress increased visibility to the checks and balances throughout the onboarding process. When considering a migration to DataExpress, at no time is the enterprise required to pursue the highly risky rip and replace option. And JD, on to you.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you, Susie. Thank you, Richard. So hopefully you were able to understand the main benefits of DataExpress. All of your file transfers can now be managed from one central source, There's no more outdated script maintenance. There's no more net batch scheduling or rescheduling. You don't have to worry about these one-off or rogue file transfers, as Susie described. You know, for example, a lot of times these one-off file transfers, these FTPs, sometimes they're not audited, or there's not even any proof that they were sent or received. This could violate audit or compliance regulations or requirements. And by the way, a lot of these rogue transfers are one method that hackers send captured data off board. So by centralizing transfers, you can close security gaps such as this. You can also take a hands-off approach to handle inbound and outbound transfers with Data Express, so your team doesn't have to sit around and monitor transmissions manually. If you're taking on new business in your organization, you're deploying a cloud-first strategy, or just simply doing more file transfers, you don't necessarily need to add more staff as your volume grows. You can rely on Data Express to handle the daily workload and just continue to present your team with the exceptions that they need to manage. And even as Richard explained, security is a top priority. Data Express has the largest library of protocols and security options, so it could take on what you're already doing today and also offer more flexible options as your business changes and grows in the future. Like Susie mentioned about Connect Direct, for example, you can continue using Connect Direct as Data Express can manage the movement of files through Connect Direct. Your team gets the benefit of Data Express with its alert notification, its reporting, its error handling, centralized management. All of this becomes really, really beneficial, especially if you have multiple different protocols that are in place and you have to manage. It becomes really, really difficult and cumbersome to manage. So Data Express is very beneficial in this. Data Express also deploys, as Susie mentioned, NonStop, SSL, well, TLS, NonStop SSH, NonStop Secure FTP, which are Comforte designed security solutions, which are embedded in the NonStop operating system. So all of these features result for you in lower operational risk, lower security risk, lower risk of a data breach, lower cost of operations, and Data Express Data Express customers are experiencing these benefits today. Data Express is helping organizations to ensure their digital business continues as expected. So, you know, what to do now? As I mentioned earlier, Data Express and Comforte are partners. So, you know, you can rely on Data Express to, what they're going to do is continue with their technical support, continue with product development, and Comforte works with Data Express as the account relationship team. So you can contact your Comforte account executive to find out how to get Data Express on your NonStop system. If you're not sure who your Comforte account executive is, you can contact Richard Pfeiffer. I put his email address here in the middle. And he can determine, you know, who your account representative is, or taking the next, what's the best steps to take next. Data Express is also available for a no-cost trial or proof of concepts. Sometimes you need to see it for yourself and maybe evaluate it in your environment to determine, you know, how to best utilize Data Express. We've also included email addresses for both Susie Ray and for Richard Buckle here in this slide. And we've also included links for you to go to dataexpress.com for the best information. And we've also included fact sheets attached to this webinar, which you can download and learn more about Data Express for NonStop systems and Data Express for open systems that Susie mentioned a little bit about as well. And share this with your team to learn more about Data Express. So that's the end of our webinar today. And we want to thank you for attending. Thank you to our presenters for sharing your information. And we hope to hear from you soon. Thank you very much.